There is a frustration many Nigerians feel both at home and across the world, and it is no longer something people can ignore. It shows up in conversations, in quiet disappointment, and in loud reactions. It shows up in how people talk about government, about institutions, and about the future of Nigeria. It is the feeling that every new tenure begins with hope, but often ends with the same questions, the same struggles, and the same sense that something fundamental is missing. What makes it even difficult is that the frustration is not limited to one area. It touches different parts of national life. It touches governance, institutions, systems, and everyday experience of citizens trying to build a life, run a business, or simply plan for the future. And over time, a pattern begins to emerge. Not just isolated issues in repeated cycles. Now, here's the part that requires honest reflection. When a pattern repeats over time, the issue is really just individuals. It is often the system, the structure, and the kind of leadership that is being produced, selected, and sustained. There is a difference between political ambition and leadership capacity and vision. One is focused on access, position, and the survivor within the system. The other is focused on the vision, execution, and long-term outcomes that outlive the individual. When a system consistently elevates ambition over capacity and vision, it should not be surprising that results remain inconsistent. This is not about dismissing everyone in public office, right? There are committed people working very hard within the system. But the larger question remains, what kind of leadership does the system produce at scale? Many of the leaders who have created lasting impact in business, in technology, global institution, and even in social movement share something in common. They understand vision beyond slogans. They understand execution beyond promises. They understand that transformation requires systems, discipline, and continuous learning. They study what works, they adapt it, and they apply it with consistency. But here is where the gap becomes very clear. When leadership is not rooted in practice, when it is not built on real execution experience, and when it is not accountable to measurable outcomes, it becomes difficult to sustain progress. You can have plans, you can have announcements, you can have activity, but without execution systems, results do not last. And this is where many Nigerians feel the tension. People are not only looking for words, they are looking for outcomes. They are looking for systems that work, institutions that are trusted, and leadership that is consistent in both decision and delivery. Now think about what a stable and transformed Nigeria could mean. It will mean predictability for businesses. It will mean confidence for young people planning their future. It will mean systems that support innovation instead of slowing it down. It will mean institutions that function with integrity and clarity, right? It will mean that effort, talent, and creativity can translate into real opportunity for people beyond Nigeria. See, it will mean something significant even in Africa and in the global community. Nigeria is not just another country. It carries influence in culture, in economics, in population, and in potential. When it moves forward into structured and a sustainable way, it creates ripple effect across the continent and even beyond. But here is the critical shift that must happen. The conversation must move from personalities to systems, from promises to execution system, and from ambition to capacity and vision, because sustainable transformation is not built on moments. It is built on systems that are designed, implemented, and maintained over time. This is why leadership must be seen as a practice, not just a position. A leadership practitioner is someone who has built, executed, learned, adapted, and sustained results in real environments. Someone who understands not only what should be done, but how to make it work under pressure. And this is not only a government issue, it is also a societal reflection. Over time, systems produce what they reward, right? If visibility is rewarded more than value, visibility increases, right? If loyalty is rewarded more than competence, competence decreases. If short-term wins are rewarded more than long-term results, then sustainability becomes very rare in a society. So the question becomes even deeper. What kind of leadership are we encouraging, supporting, and expecting? Because expectation shapes selection, and selection shapes outcomes. Now, let's make this practical. In any small business, if you were hiring someone to manage a team, you will look for competence for sure, right? Experience and ability to deliver results. You will not select based on ambition alone. You would not ignore performance for sure. You will not overlook accountability. Yet, at a national level, expectations are sometimes not as clearly defined in practice as they are in conversations. That gap between expectation and execution is where frustration grows. But here is the hopeful part of this conversation. Change is possible, but it requires a shift in leadership. And leadership, we must understand, there must be a place to develop and evaluate. It requires valuing people who can build, people who can execute, people who can learn, adapt, and people who understand systems. It also requires citizens, right, professionals and leaders across sectors to engage with clarity, not just reacting, but thinking, contributing, and practicing, participating and looking for ways to shape their own leadership. Because transformation at a national level is not only driven from the top, it is reinforced across systems, communities, in families, institutions, and in everyday decisions. The future of Nigeria is not only a political conversation, it is a leadership conversation. It is about capacity, vision, integrity, execution, and sustainability. And the truth is, Nigerians still carry hope, not blind hope, but a desire to see systems work, to see leadership that delivers, to see a country that reflects its full potential. The question is not whether change is needed. The question is whether we are ready to approach change differently. Because if the approach does not change, the outcomes will not change. But if the system changes, if the expectation changes, and if leadership becomes a practice responsibility rather than a pursued position, then something powerful begins to happen. Progress becomes consistent, systems begin to stabilize, trust begins to rebuild, and over time results begin to reflect the potential that has always been there. And if this message resonates with you, share this with others who are thinking deeply about leadership, systems, and the future of Nigeria. Conversations like this are where the new thinking begins. I strongly believe that a new Nigeria is possible with vision, with capacity, and execution system.